welcome to ILTV's Evening Update. I'm Aaron Porras here with the latest news from Israel. This evening, the State of Israel marks the beginning of Memorial Day for the fallen soldiers of Israel and victims of terrorism. Earlier today, top Israeli officials attended the dedication of a new national memorial hall in Jerusalem. President Rivlin told those gathered, quote, that all citizens share in the memory of those who've been lost, and that here in the Jewish state, all personal private grief is shared by the nation, end quote. He also promised the parents of fallen soldiers that even after they too have passed away, the memories of their heroic children will be treasured and preserved by all future generations. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu described the new Remembrance Hall as a state symbol dedicated to the bravery and sacrifice made by its citizens. He added that the Jewish people had to endure 2,000 years of exile before the reappearance of the Hebrew fighter, and that after Israel's refounding, Jews renewed their legacy of fiercely defending their homeland. The opening ceremony for Memorial Day took place at a memorial for bereaved families in Jerusalem this afternoon, attended by Prime Minister Netanyahu, Knesset Speaker, and Israel's chief rabbis. After the nationwide sounding of a 1-minute siren at 8 p.m., a candle-lighting ceremony in memory of the fallen was held at the Western Wall Plaza. The event at the plaza was followed by an event called Songs in Their Memory at the Knesset at 9:15 earlier tonight. Defense Minister Avigdor Lieberman is being chastised again for heating up tensions between the Jewish state and the hermit country North Korea. In an interview with the Walla news agency, Lieberman referred to Kim Jong-un as the madman from North Korea, continuing to say that North Korea was part of an axis of evil in league with Iran, Hezbollah, and Syria to destabilize the world. Israel's ministers are questioning Lieberman's comments, saying, quote, "We have nothing to do with North Korea, so why jump up? Don't we have enough enemies?" Former Defense Minister Moshe Ya'alon tweeted calling Lieberman the Minister of Talk, saying he was chattering irresponsibly about North Korea and that there is no PM to rein in the babbling and posturing minister. North Korea fired back in a statement reading in part, quote, "Our consistent message is to mercilessly punish those who offend the dignity of our leadership. We warn Israel to think twice about the implications of its defamation campaign against us," end quote. Korea then went on to decry alleged Israeli human rights abuses against the Palestinians, for which Korea called Israel hypocritical. Hamas returned the favorable support to North Korea, saying Hamas, quote, "appreciates North Korea's statement in which it supported the Palestinian struggle and rejected the continuation of occupation. Hamas rejects Israeli abuse of North Korea and confirms that Israel is the leader of evil and terrorism in the world," end quote. Defense Minister Avigdor Lieberman has just confirmed that the State of Israel will not compensate a Palestinian boy who was badly injured in an arson attack carried out by Jewish extremists. Ahmed Dawabsha, who was just 5 years old at the time of the attack, lost his entire family. In a letter to Joint Arab List MK Youssef Javarin, Lieberman explained that since Ahmed Dawabsha is not an Israeli citizen, he is not entitled to compensation under the current law, which stipulates that victims must be Israeli or at least be residents of Israel. On July 31st of 2015, 2 homes in the Palestinian village of Duma were lit on fire by Jewish extremists, burning alive 3 members of the Dawabsha family, including an 18-month-old baby. There were some major clashes between Palestinians and Israeli security forces over the weekend in both the West Bank and Jerusalem. The violence came after Palestinian political parties declared a day of rage to demonstrate solidarity with hunger-striking prisoners in Israeli jails. Protesters hurled rocks at passing Israeli cars on a public road near one prison outside Jerusalem. Soldiers in military jeeps fired stun grenades and tear gas after they also came under attack. A large number of Palestinian youth took to the streets of Bethlehem. They threw rocks at Israeli soldiers stationed by the border fence, who also responded with non-lethal crowd dispersal tactics. No casualties were reported during any of the widespread protests. Women and children gathered outside the Dome of the Rock Mosque in Jerusalem's Old City. They chanted Allahu Akbar and other slogans of support, while waving some of the prisoners' photographs. The open-ended hunger strike was launched on April 16th by convicted terrorist Marwan Barghouti. The Palestinians say they're striking against poor conditions in Israeli prisons and the Israeli policy of detention without trial. But Israeli officials believe the move is a politically motivated show of support for Barghouti, who's the main rival of Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas. The British band Radiohead has always had a lot of fans in the Jewish state, and now there are even more. The British rockers are holding fast to their plans to perform in Tel Aviv this summer, even though they're being targeted by anti-Israel boycotters. That news is coming from Roger Waters, of all people, who's long been an outspoken critic against Israel. The former Pink Floyd frontman is apparently pretty disgruntled that Radiohead is ignoring the call he and a bunch of other anti-Israel artists and writers have made. They signed an open letter demanding that Radiohead join the Palestinian cause by canceling their July 19th show. Waters says he understands the band is refusing to back out after corresponding with some of its members. So here's even more good news. Waters says that since the group is going wherever their own consciences lead them and taking to the Israeli stage as scheduled, he has very little more to say on the matter, and won't sit around bad-mouthing Radiohead. Well, thank goodness for that. That's all for now. Stay tuned on ILTV.tv for our main daily broadcast playing after this. I'm Aaron Porras, and see you next time with our morning briefing from Israel at 8 a.m. Eastern Time.